This is not 1980s OSU.
Zack Robinson a long time going deep.
We are back at it. Welcome back to another edition of the Pistols Firing Podcast. I'm Carson Cunningham, joined as always by Colby Powell. Colby, how you doing on this Monday? I got a little refresh on the old screen here. I hope people like it. I had a fair comment stating that some of our graphics look like Windows 95, which I gotta say was a fair critique and kind of stung a little bit. But hey, I think good and honest feedback improves the show, and I think these graphics are a little cleaner. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're like OSU basketball. Our star is rising. You know, positive changes are being made. Our star is rising, and things are looking bright for the future. So it was good to see you this weekend. Bumped into each other at the zoo yesterday. Finally got to meet your lovely wife, your beautiful family. So, yeah, that was nice. It was a good weekend. Oklahoma State football notwithstanding, it was a very good weekend.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, it was good to see Layla in person. She's seen me on the computer screen a bunch, but it was good to see her in person again. Both my two stepdaughters and your daughter, they get a little shy, which makes them really even seem sweeter than they already are. But it was great to kind of have the meeting of the podcast in person. And I think my stepdaughters were like, "Wait, you do the show with someone else?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't talk to myself for an hour. Maybe I could, but no. Colby's been doing the show with me a long time, so it was good for them to finally meet you as well."
Yeah, it was funny. Layla, she's so shy, and the moment y'all walk away, massive smile just lights up her face. She wants you to come back. She wants y'all to come to the elephants with us and walk around the zoo with us, but y'all got there a couple hours before we did. But it's just so funny. When she's around people, she just tightens up a little bit, but as soon as those people are gone, she's like, no, wait, I like them. Can they come back? And so we're working on that. Maybe when she's around some other kids and some other people more as she gets older, she'll start to come out of her shell a little bit.
Yeah, probably so. She's still really young and still pretty outgoing for her age, I want to say. But Haunt the Zoo was fun. I mean, I've been going to the zoo since, I was Layla's age. And some of it's changed, a lot of it's changed, but a lot of it has stayed the same. So it's always kind of like a walk back in time. I distinctly remember wanting one of those like wax figures, that big machine where you can put like $5 in. I wanted one so bad when I was a kid. I don't think I ever got one, but seeing those machines certainly brings me back in time, and they do a really good job at the OKC Zoo with the Haunt the Zoo stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Did you have a trick-or-treat bag? We had an extra one because Sydney got tickets, and they handed us 2 bags. I feel like the workers were kind of shaming me for like holding out an extra bag for the girls, but I got over that real quick and said, all right, fill me up. Let's go.
We just had the one bucket. Layla had her bucket. She didn't want to put her Elmo on. She's going to be Elmo for Halloween. I'm Big Bird. Dana is Cookie Monster. But the Elmo has a head, like a wraparound. It Velcros under her chin. And I don't think the head is super comfortable. I think it makes her hot. So it should be nice and chilly on Halloween night. And we're hoping she fully leans into the wearing of the Elmo head. Otherwise, she's just going to be walking around in a red onesie with no one knowing what she is. And Dana and I are just going to look like 2 adults walking through the neighborhood dressed as Big Bird and Cookie Monster. So, yeah, we'll figure that all out. But are you dressing up, or do you partake?
Kind of. This year, yes. So the girls, like, they want to dress up with their friends. So May, our youngest, she's going to be Piglet from Winnie the Pooh, and her friends are being Pooh and Tigger and all them. And Nora's being an M&M. So my costume's not related to them, but Sydney got her and her best friend Bryn Jalusis got these onesies for what's the name? Stitch. They got Stitch onesies. I guess there's one of the characters is named Angel or something, so she's Angel, and they got me and Mike Jalusis Hawaiian shirts. So we're gonna be kind of like the Hawaiian bros to the Stitch and Angel. I just saw the new Stitch movie and all the names are kind of mixed up, but I'll be rocking a Hawaiian shirt. Hopefully I don't need to put a jacket on, but we'll see. It kind of looks like a Hawaii, or not Hawaii 5. I'll kind of look like Magnum PI more than anything from Stitch and Lilo.
So I did not get any of your references. I've never seen Lilo and Stitch. I've never seen Hawaii 5-0. I've never seen Magnum PI. I'm sure there are many. 0 for 3. I'm sure there are many listeners out there who are like, oh, okay, yeah, and they can paint a mental picture, but I've got no mental picture. So
that's okay.
Yeah, we're wearing all of our Halloween talk out on the 27th. We're going to do another podcast later this week and have to figure out something scary to talk about. We can talk about OSU football. That's plenty scary.
Yeah, we have to. And it's spooky, downright spooky. And yeah, let's get to Chris's University Spirit, your one-stop Cowboy shop. Be sure to shop at chrisuniversityspirit.com. If you're heading to Stillwater or shopping online, be sure to stop by Chris's. They can get you your Section 231 gear. I did notice the Texas Tech fan base partook in that as well. I cannot wait. I tweeted this, and of course, I was ready for the wrath of the Red Raider fans. I tweeted, I cannot wait for the Tech fans to claim that we stole this tradition from them, just like everything else. They try to think we stole the handguns, that Pistol Pete's, the Red Raider, even though he looks like the Hamburglar does the Red Raider. So just add that to the list of copycat you or whatever Tech calls us. But I enjoyed that. I love that tradition has spread throughout the country. I just don't want to hear Tech fans claiming that we stole it, okay?
Yeah, and they probably will. I don't know. I think they have a little bit of an inferiority complex in Lubbock. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going crazy here, but they had the one good season with Harrell and Crabtree, and that's most of what the broadcast focused on in the second quarter as Harrell was in the booth with them. It was just they would basically cut back to the live game for just a second to see the play, and then it was just all the 2008 Texas Tech highlights. So yeah, maybe that's what it is. But no, we're not stealing anything from Texas Tech. We are the creators. Texas Tech follows. Section 231 is just another example.
Great example. And hey, their inferiority complex might be gone this year, considering how good they look on the field. And that's one thing. Before we get into the game, that's been one of the things that's bugged me most about this year, in particular with NIL. You see two programs who literally couldn't get over the hump, couldn't get out of their own way in Texas A&M and Texas Tech. I mean, Oklahoma State under Mike Gundy just dominated Texas Tech virtually from the moment he got the job, because Mike upset Tech in 2007. The infamous "I'm a man, I'm 40" rant came after a huge upset against Texas Tech and Michael Crabtree and Graham Harrell. So Mike, basically, since he became the OSU head coach, has had Tech's number. And now with NIL, A&M's money truly shows itself on the field. They just absolutely – that was a prison beating. Like, whooping domination doesn't do justice what they did to LSU. That was demoralizing what they did to LSU. And so Tech, obviously, as well now with their money with Chad Campbell. So that's really kind of been one of my bigger takeaways, Colby, is all these programs that just couldn't figure out a way to be successful have in the NIL era, and it's incumbent on OSU to do the same.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a clear line in the sand you can draw with Texas Tech and the money that Campbell's throwing into it and the success that they're seeing on the field. I mean, that game Saturday was without Texas Tech's starting quarterback. Their backup tears his ACL in the game. Their third stringer ends up playing a good portion of that game. Baron Morton started the game in street clothes and then had to put on his pads and uniform to be the emergency quarterback in case the third stringer got hurt. And then, like you mentioned, Texas A&M, that was Carson, I'm doing the calculations off the top of my head. That was about a $54 million beating they gave LSU in terms of Brian Kelly's buyout. We'll get to the coaching carousel and everything happening in college football later on in the show. But yeah, there's a clear line in the sand you can draw with NIL. And yeah, Oklahoma State's going to have to we're a little tardy to the party, but we're going to have to show up and get after it. Saturday, Carson, it was just, I joked on the preview pod for that game that it started at 3 and I had to wake my daughter up from her nap at 4. The game would probably be over by then. There was a half-hour weather delay and the game was still over in plenty of time. I mean, the game was over by like 3:40, and it kicked at 3:30. They had run one offensive play, and they had scored 2 touchdowns, because that's kind of what Oklahoma State is dealing with right now. It's just rock bottom in every possible way. I pulled up Tulsa's schedule this morning. They're winless since they beat Oklahoma State, and they've been non-competitive in 3 out of those 4. They lost in overtime to Temple this weekend, but after beating Oklahoma State and how good they felt and how confident their coach was, they just got dog-walked 3 straight times by lesser opponents, and it's just – Oklahoma State is very much the laughingstock of college football right now. Again, I do think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because I do think you can make quick changes in modern college football. But boy, there's a bunch of jobs coming open, big jobs, and things are bad right now in Stillwater. So it's very disheartening, Carson, that this team's totally non-competitive. I picked Oklahoma State to score 20 points. What was I thinking? 20 points. Give me a break. I mean, never even close to finding the end zone. So anyway, I hand it over to you. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to me that it's weird to me the offense has seemingly gotten worse with what they have still on the offensive side, and the defense has somehow improved marginally, if you want to say that, with Clinton Bowen. It's weird how we saw that boost from Kevin Johns in the running game his first time out, but they just cannot do anything anymore offensively. And I'm sure the quarterback, we can look to that. Zane Flores did not play even though he was cleared. Doug Meacham's got a few things to say about that today at his press conference, but it's just strange that the offense seemingly has regressed so much, because I kind of thought when Meacham took over, we all thought it, right, watching that Baylor game, the shackles were off. They'll at least be creative. They'll at least get something going offensively. And for me, it's they're not playing the right running back enough, which we'll get to. But I have been slightly impressed by what Clint Bowen's been able to do with Scotch tape on the defense. But for me, the most disappointing part of this season has been the offense just completely cratering. And then there are reasons for that, mind you, but I don't know. If we want Clint Bowen to make marginal improvements, which he has, I think it's fair to ask the offense to not be the worst unit in the entire country, given they do have some talent there. I know they didn't have Rodney Fields. That's a lot of ifs and caveats, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't expect much from the offense now that I'm saying it, Colby.
Yeah, it's just that Baylor game was such a tease, right? It looked like in that Baylor game that they were just going to totally take the training wheels off, let everybody get after it, play side to side, play in space. You lose Zane Flores, so you lose the two quarterback element where you're able to use Sam Jackson as a gadget and a piece of your offense, as opposed to him needing to be the guy to run the offense. So that obviously was a loss that could have impacted some of the things that they wanted to do on that side of the ball. But again, it's non-functional. And so many of the things that worked against Cincinnati didn't work against Texas Tech. You know, Rodney Fields wasn't out there. I get that. There was a lot of Sessi. Sessi's most notable play of the day was when the ball just got ripped out of his hands and returned, I think, 69 yards for a touchdown by their linebacker, Rodriguez. I apologize for getting his first name. He made me nostalgic for when we had a Rodriguez at linebacker who would do things like that. And, you know, Trent Howland looked pretty good, but just they've been unable to replicate anything all year. They've been unable to replicate anything that they've done successfully offensively week to week. We saw that with the trickery and what they were able to do and getting Baylor off balance, and Baylor had to defend the entire field. They weren't playing in a phone booth, and then immediately that goes away. It looks terrible the next week at Arizona. Against Cincinnati, it's just a full ground attack, and then immediately that all comes undone against Texas Tech. Again, Texas Tech, probably the best defense in the Big 12, probably the best front seven in the Big 12, even with the tackle that they're missing. But Carson, it's discouraging to watch this offense find a little something every 2 to 3 weeks. And we're like, okay, maybe they can build on that. And there's just at no point has there been any building on it. It's been right back to just tear the whole thing down to nothing and hope you can take it from there.
Well, and if there was any question that this program now resembles the lowest of low Kansas teams with Turner Gill and all the post-Bangino, troubles they went through. I mean, just OSU finished with 182 total yards. It's the second time this year they've done that. They failed to get to 200. They averaged 2.9 yards per play. Joining Arizona is the second time they did that, failing to average 3. And they had one pass of at least 15 yards and one run of at least 10 yards. I mean, that's about as bad as an offense can perform. So all that's to say, this is completely rock bottom. They're the worst Power 4 team in the country, and I don't really think it's all that close. I mean, those graphs we see nationally where OSU's in the far left corner, they have to extend the graph left. That graph's still moving. It's out of the frame. And whoever takes over, they're going to have to hit the portal hard. And we haven't really touched on the portal losses much, Colby. We do need to give that a lot more credit. What is it, 25 guys that have entered the portal since they fired Mike Gundy? That I still haven't wrapped my mind around that rule change that was made that affected Oklahoma State, but schools like Penn State and Penn State and like an LSU, for instance. OSU got just destroyed with the firing of Mike Gundy with the portal opening, the way that worked out for them. So maybe there's criticism to go around for Oklahoma State for not waiting to see if that rule change would be implemented. I don't know all the inner workings of that. I frankly haven't cared because the season's lost. But I think that deserves some credence to why they are the worst team in the country. I don't think people nationally probably realize that.
Yeah, and the window has closed now. The 30-day window is closed. Grant Segrin, your best offensive lineman, he jumped in as well, so that's another big loss for Oklahoma State. But yeah, the NCAA changed that rule like 2 weeks after Mike Gundy got fired. So Penn State doesn't have to suffer what Oklahoma State has suffered with 15 guys going in the portal. LSU doesn't have to suffer what Oklahoma State, pardon me, what Oklahoma State has suffered. And it's just it just feels like one thing after another. You can't win for losing, but I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made. Do you wait around on that? Was there any indication that the NCAA was going to do that? But on the other side, you wanted the firm. You went out and you got the firm that you wanted. You got a jump start on everything. You just kind of let everybody know that what was happening previously, this is all just unacceptable. And you could even tell in Chad's press conference after Mike Gundy was fired, I think there was a lot of connecting the dots on what Chad was saying as like, we understand this is a lost season. It was a lost season with that guy or without that guy. We're asking you to be patient throughout 2025 and give us a chance to rebuild this thing from the ground up. And it is from the ground up, Carson. I just think that this is a lost season. We have to accept it for what it is. You know, put your orange on, wear your swinging Pete hat. And I was talking to my neighbor Saturday afternoon. OU loses. It's like 5 o'clock. We're out there with the dog or something and kiddo. And neighbor's out there. He's a big OU fan. He's like 75 years old. He's a big OU fan. They lost the heartbreaker to Ole Miss earlier in the day. And so we were talking about that. And he was like, yeah, I watched the start of that Cowboys game. And, you know, we just had a good little back and forth. And I acknowledged to him, like, yes, we're the laughing stock. I get it. It's a lost season and hopefully things start to turn around. But that's all you can do at this point is hope for the future. There's no hope for the now. There's no hope for the now.
Here's what you should have said. There's a real chance Brent Venables could lose out after going 5-1. They could end 7-5. And you think about LSU's made a move. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The coaching carousel's moving. LSU made a move. Penn State's open. Florida's open. If they go 7-5, I think they have to fire Brent Venables. And at that point, what coaching candidates are left? All these schools have already made moves. It's only late October. So if I'm an OU fan, one, I don't think Brent's the answer. Just look everywhere else, everywhere around the country. I mean, A&M's past them. I just mentioned them. So if I'm you, I'm saying, hey, our job's open. We're already interviewing candidates, and you guys might have to fire Brent after all the best candidates are gone. So we'll see. OU's in a much better spot, clearly, talent-wise. I wouldn't argue that. But in terms of if you have to hire a new coach, OSU's got a couple lap lead if this was a race.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't looked that closely at the rest of their schedule. If they lose out, by the way, that wouldn't be 7-5. They would be 6-6. They're 6-2 with 4 games remaining. At Tennessee, off week at Alabama, home against Missouri, home against the Brian Kelly-less LSU Tigers. So it's certainly possible. I don't know. I still think OU has a lot of talent on defense and enough on offense. I think they'll probably win 1, maybe 2 of those games. I mean, the home games against Missouri and LSU, those certainly aren't juggernaut teams that are walking into Norman. So I know 8-4 will feel a lot different down there than 6-6. But, I'm in no position to sling mud at OU right now. But I'm still watching Carson, and I don't know if other Oklahoma State fans do this. I don't watch their game start to finish, but I'll keep half an eye on them, see what the score is. If it looks like they're going to get beat, I might tune in the fourth quarter, and I actively root for them to lose because I don't want them to go out and experience a whole bunch of happiness while we're just in this state of dread every day over being the worst program in college football. So Go ahead. Call me a hater. But yes, I'm actively rooting for OU to lose because I don't want all of those people in my life to experience all this happiness in my face as Oklahoma State is just terrible.
That's fair. I'm in an OU group text, and it was a little more quiet after the Ole Miss game. So I tell you, OU should just hire Lane Kiffin. If I'm Florida, LSU, Oklahoma, feels like Lane Kiffin's figured it out. I know we need to get back to OSU, but maybe let's table that talk until we get to coaching carousel. No, I mean, what'd you make of Zane Flores not playing? I think you made a salient point last week that you wouldn't throw Zane out there his first game back on the road at Texas Tech in Lubbock against arguably the best team in the Big 12 coming off an injury. That would have been a tough spot to bring him back and try to get him kind of rehabilitated mentally as well as physically.
Yeah, in every aspect, that just felt like an unwinnable game. And Zane Flores, look, he was thrown to the wolves in Eugene, Oregon for his first collegiate start. Eugene, Oregon, 69-3. That's what happened to him. And I think I can make the argument that for a couple of weeks there, it absolutely broke him mentally. Like he just looked like happy feet, everything that you don't want your quarterback doing back there, he was doing. And I think that having that be your first experience starting for a big time collegiate program or in college at all, that's hard, man. And to get injured and then throw him back out there in Lubbock against that defense with this offense, that would have been a really tough sell for me. So I think it was probably a case of Zane's about 80%. Why don't we give him another week? See how he looks in Lawrence against the Jayhawks, who just got beat 42-17 in a rivalry game against Kansas State. So I think this is a game that if Oklahoma State was having a season and Zane was like the difference in that season and they needed him in there to win a big game, everything reads as if he would have been healthy enough to do that. The fact that he wasn't on the injury report and stuff, and Coach Meachin's saying it could be a 2-quarterback carousel. The fact that this was an unwinnable game where the quarterback was going to be under fire for 4 straight quarters leads me to believe that they wanted to give him just another week to turn that 80 or 90% into 100%. And I would expect that we will see a little bit of Zane Flores in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah, I would think so too. Much better spot. I certainly agree with all the things you said there. And I don't know. I mean, and we focus a lot on the quarterback position, rightfully so. And I do think there's a lot of criticism to go around that maybe we haven't touched on enough. Mainly the wide receiver room. Look, all of our opinions are well known about Casey Dunn as a play caller, and all of our opinions are well known about him as a wide receivers coach. I think you're starting to see the loss of Casey Dunn when you look at the wide receiver unit. I mean, who can make a play? Who can get open? I mean, they brought in 6 portal wide receivers: Shamar Rigby, Sam Jackson, Jalen Lloyd, Cam Abshire, Christian Fitzpatrick, and Terrell Davis. They've combined this season, per Marshall Scott on Pistols Fire, and read his 10 thoughts. Those players have combined for 45 catches and 556 yards. That is a whiff in the transfer portal, which we'll get to. I want to talk about that next. But Gavin Freeman may be the best receiver. I don't know, Colby, but we focus so much on Zane Flores. He's gotten very little help, as has Sam Jackson, from the wide receiver room. So I do want to credit Casey Dunn. It didn't matter what year it was, who was returning. You could look down on that roster and go, oh, there's an alpha receiver. There's an alpha receiver. That guy's always open. That guy's making plays. We have too many receivers to even get on the field. That problem is now gone, and I think that was a credit to Casey Dunn.
Yeah, Oklahoma State was wide receiver U for 15 years. Maybe not number one collegiately. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase were in the same room. Ohio State just puts out top 5 NFL receivers, it seems like, every 3-4 years. But Oklahoma State, among like the non-2-3 NFL talent every single year, 2 first-rounders, Oklahoma State was right there as good as anybody in the country in terms of, like you said, having an alpha every year. I do think we find ourselves in a bit of a chicken and egg conversation with the receivers this year. Are the receivers bad because nobody can get them the ball? Are the quarterbacks bad because they don't have anybody to get the ball to? I think it's probably a combination of both. You know, you mentioned Sam Jackson as a transfer receiver on that list. Now Shamar Rigby and Terrell Davis and these other guys, they're relying on Sam Jackson to get them the ball. Not exactly what they had in mind. So I do think there's some chicken in the egg there. Hopefully, I was going to say something about next season, but we don't know who, if any of these guys, will be back next season to catch passes from whoever is going to be back there slinging it for Oklahoma State, whether it's Haas Haney, Zane Flores, or somebody else. I'd be pretty surprised if it was Zane Flores just from what we've seen this season. Carson, I don't know what to make of this receiver room. I don't know how critical it's fair to be with what's happened at the quarterback position. It's just everything has collapsed for this offense in every possible way. I mean, prior to the season, we did our predictions, and I correctly predicted that Gavin Freeman would be this team's leading receiver. And as of now, Gavin Freeman is this team's leading receiver. Carson, I got to tell you, this is not what I meant. This is not what I had in mind when I said G Freaky was going to be Oklahoma State's leading receiver. I didn't have him down for, 17 for 240 or something like that, 8 games into the season. Everything has broken down at a fundamental level, at a personnel level, at a coaching level. So, yes, the receiver room, there's no alpha. There's no guys that are going out and making big plays, but I don't know. Is there much expectation of that with what else is happening offensively? It's just everybody's in a really bad spot right now.
Yeah, and that's fair. But at a certain point, it doesn't matter what's going on around you. You got to produce, and those receivers have been a big disappointment thus far. Let's hear from Wolf Corporation, or let me see here. Yeah, Wolf Corporation. Hey, Cowboy fans looking to sell or lease your commercial property, turn to Wolf Corporation, Oklahoma's trusted commercial real estate listing brokerage since 2010. Their experienced team specializes in showcasing your retail, office, or industrial space to the right buyers and tenants across the state. They're based right here in Oklahoma, and they deliver results with local expertise. Visit them at wolfcorporation.com. That's WULF corporation.com, or call 405-308-3480 today. Go Pokes. Appreciate Wolf Corporation, as always, sponsoring the show. One thing I did want to get back to, Trent Howland. Okay. The runway was clear. Rodney Fields out. I think he's dealing with a toe. What's it going to take for this coaching staff to realize Trent Howland is their best option at running back? I mean, I do realize I have a tendency to focus on things that should be happening and not enough on what is, but if I'm looking for reasons why OSU can't move the football, it's they haven't realized the strength of this team is Rodney Fields and Trent Howland, and that they need to run the ball 75-80% of the time 4 times in a row and just live with the results. And Trent Howland, once again, ceded a lot of carries to Sessi Vialahi, like you said. Vialahi carried 6 times for 16 yards for 2.7 yards per carry and lost a pair of fumbles. Howland had 6 combined carries in OSU's past 3 games after that outing against Baylor. He had 13 handoffs on Saturday and had 58 yards. That's 4.5 a pop. I don't know what more evidence they need, Colby. Trent Howland should be getting maybe 50-50 with Rodney Fields, and I love Rodney Fields, but in certain play calls, particularly between the tackles and tough short yardage situations, I want Trent Howland back there getting the football. Why he's not getting the majority of the carries, I still don't know.
Carson, I think Rodney Fields and Trent Howland are both really good players. I'd totally be in favor of you go out, you play 2, 3, 4 offensive series in that first half, ride the hot hand. Like, let's see who's got it. Let's see who's feeling it that day, whose body feels better, who's looking quicker, who's hitting the hole, who's got better vision on that day. Again, we saw some good things against Cincinnati, and I find it hard to believe that with Sam Jackson back there who can really run, that there aren't some creative things that you can do offensively with the speed of the guy taking the snap. Carson, I would not be opposed to having Sam Jackson, Trent Howland, and Rodney Fields line up together in the backfield a bunch. Like, let's fake the give inside and have Sam Jackson run an option with Rodney Fields. Let's give it to the inside man. Let's get creative. Run some triple option stuff. I don't care. Do anything other than what we've been watching that's leading to 180 total yards of offense throughout a game. It's just, yeah, we need to see more Trent Howland, and I don't think that necessarily has to mean less of Rodney Fields. I think the two can coexist. They're both really good players. Let them go to work. I'm here for all of the Trent Howland and the Rodney Fields. They're clearly your 2 best backs. Give them as much run as possible.
And don't you feel like we've had this conversation about Trent Howland for 3 years now? I mean, you and I have been getting tweets about why doesn't Trent Howland get the ball? Why doesn't Trent Howland get the ball for going on 3 years now? And clearly something's going on at practice, behind the scenes, the day-to-day operations that we don't know about or are privy to. Because as far as what we just see on the field, he's demanded more carries. And I'm not sure why, even with a new staff, that's not happening. So there's got to be more to the story there, plain and simple. But one last thing before we move on from this game, the defense, like I mentioned, slight improvements under Clint Bowen. He's been pretty brash and outward about how they had to go back to the fundamentals, how poorly coached this team was that he took over. Tech had just 370 yards total offense. That's their lowest output this year. They ran for 88 yards. First time this year they were held under 100 yards rushing. OSU had 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Of course, I do think the special teams element took some possessions away, of course, from Tech. These yardage totals would be higher. And I don't know about you, Colby. Like, sure, I want to give credit to the OSU defense. But didn't it kind of feel like Tech was just like, let's just run the ball and run the clock and get out of here? Like, OSU's not going to win this game. They're not going to try to win this game.
Well, also, Carson, I don't think they wanted to play Baron Morton. I think they wanted him to have the full week of rest. Their backup tears his ACL. They've got their third stringer in there. I think they were very conservative offensively. And look, that's fine. I do think Clint Bowen's defense they've shown me a little bit more than Todd Grantham's defense did, certainly. Some tackles for loss, making disruptive plays. There was a fourth down where Wendell Gregory just absolutely explodes through, dominates everybody, throws the guy on the ground and gets a stop. So there have been some good things defensively. Like you said, special teams, limited possessions. They get the blocked punt, one play takes it in from 26 yards out. They get the fumble return for a touchdown. And I think that they were protecting their third-string quarterback so that Baron Morton could go ahead and get that full week of rest. Because I think they know they're playing for something very, very different, something much bigger than whatever the final score is on the ticker against Oklahoma State. So, they're playing for a Big 12 championship. They're playing to get into the playoff. And I think that they think, if healthy, that they have the guys to compete in the college football playoff. I don't know that necessarily means compete with like an Ohio State, that type of program. Texas A&M even, I would probably throw in that category now with what Texas A&M has done with the late win over Notre Dame and then the drubbing of LSU in Death Valley on Saturday night. So I don't know that they're quite at that level, but this is a good Texas Tech team. We saw Arizona State nearly beat Texas last year, a Texas team that made it to the national championship game. I think it's possible Tech could win a playoff game this year if things break right, if they're healthy and they've got everybody out there. So I do think that they were pretty conservative offensively to just handle their business, get out of there, nothing ventured, nothing gained, move on down the schedule. So that being said, Bowen's defense, they've been fine. They've showed little, small improvements along the way, and that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, that's, I guess, all you can ask for at this point. I mean, it's a lost season, and I think the focus the rest of the way is going to be on the coaching carousel, things of that nature. But I want to hit on one more thing here on the Big 12. And I do think Tech has some they have some work to do here. BYU's 8-0, leading the conference. Cincinnati 7-1, Houston 7-1, and Tech 7-1. So you got kind of a four-way tie there at the top. And Willie Fritz can coach, man. Would Willie Fritz interest you at all as the head coach of Oklahoma State? I know he's up there in age, in his mid-60s, late 60s, but look what he's done at Houston. Like, they were a train wreck under Dana Holgorsen there the last couple of years.
I know, and they're not spending big money, and they're playing good football, and I appreciate that, and Willie Fritz is doing a good job. I don't know, Carson. I might be an ageist. Am I an ageist?
I don't know. Too. It's a no-go for me too. But I mean, you could do a lot worse than Willie. I keep saying you can do a lot worse than James Franklin. You can do a lot worse than Willie Fritz as well. I think he would have OSU competitive at least.
Look, I love old people. Don't get me wrong. Old people, I love you. I do. I love you. It's hard for me with everything that is so rapidly changing in college football and all the changes that we're going to have over the next 5 years, the next 10 years in college football, and having a vision for the future of this program. I would be hard pressed to turn that over to somebody in their 60s. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure some people listening agree. I'm sure some people listening disagree. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel. Things are changing a lot. I want somebody young and hungry and who's out to establish a career. I don't kind of want somebody who's spent the last 30 years establishing a career. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't hire Nick Saban? He's 73.
That's a different question, Carson. You're asking me a different question about the greatest coach in the history of college football. Saban's not on the market.
Me up for a 73-year-old in that case. That's about it. It's a one-case scenario.
Yeah, because if he came back at 73, that would tell me that he just decided he didn't like retirement and doing game day, and he was just going to coach until it killed him. So you might have 20 years of Nick Saban. You might have 90-year-old Nick Saban puttering around the sidelines with a walker, and that I would be really in favor of. So, yes, I guess I will suspend my ageism for Nick Saban.
All right. We need to get to Brewster.
Yes, pardon me. Our good friends at Brewster Consulting Group bring you the Pistols Firing podcast. Do any of these sound familiar at your company? Processes that are manual and inefficient with no documentation, data reporting that takes forever, it's not accurate. You hear all the hype about AI, but have no clue what it actually means for your business. Your projects are always running over time and over budget. If so, talk with our good friends at Brewster Consulting Group. They help build organizations that run like well-oiled machines with clear processes, reliable data and reporting, and technology that actually works for you. Their team of 6 Sigma Black Belts, PMP certified project managers, and seasoned data engineers have delivered solutions that are built to last for local clients like the Tulsa International Airport and Medify. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, they're founded and run by proud Oklahoma State alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at www.brewsterconsulting.com or learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them at Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube.
You know whose processes are out of date and not running well? Would be Oklahoma State's portal activities. You know, we can talk about Doug Meacham. We can talk about Trent Howland, Zane Flores. I think it's time to focus on who's making the decisions in the transfer portal because, as Chad Weiberg noted, this was not a cheap roster. I do know there were defections to the portal, but let's be honest, it could have been a lot worse than it was. And I think the focus should be on Kenyatta Wright and Todd Bradford, that whole team there that's in charge of running the portal, because this has been a horrible year in terms of player recruitment and development through the portal. I mean, that's how Oklahoma State. We can talk about Mike Gundy all we want. He certainly has a hand in this. I don't mean to absolve him. But him, combined with Kenyatta Wright and the staff that made the decisions in the transfer portal, if you were grading it, Colby, it'd have to be an F- because despite the prices of these players, the output has been, again, the worst team in the country.
Yeah, Carson, this is something that we've talked very little about because there's just been a lot else going on. We've been following the team throughout the season and stuff. But, yeah, I think you have to look at Kenyatta Wright, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to keep someone in their same role when the output has been what it has. You know, I mean, this is big-time football here, and all around the country, big-time programs are hiring general manager-esque positions. They can call them what they want to call them, you know, whatever. President of operations, whatever they want to call them, general manager type guys who have real experience doing these things. And I understand Kenyatta is building that experience, but it's inarguable that the product has not been good enough. And I think that a new coach is going to have want to have much more impact on recruiting, much more of a say on recruiting. Some people that I've talked to, I've pretty good reason to believe that Mike Gundy was more or less showing up and coaching the roster that was given to him, and that Kenyatta was left to handle most of that. I think a new coach is going to want to come in and have a lot more say in that. And if I was guessing, I have no inside information. I'm not reporting anything. I'm giving an opinion based on what we've seen and just what the production has been from the talent that Kenyatta has brought in over the past couple of years. I would be pretty surprised if he is in his same role at Oklahoma State next year, if he's like the guy in charge of putting the roster together. I think that would probably surprise me. Chad Weiberg has talked about rebuilding everything from a fundamental level, making sure that we're in position to really get after it moving forward. And I think part of that is bringing in a program builder, a recruiter, someone who can wow guys when they come in and make sure you're getting the absolute best bang for your buck. Some of the things that I've heard about presentations to recruits, about how much money was allocated to different positions, some of it seemed I don't want to reveal too much, and this isn't firsthand knowledge. I think there's a little bit to be desired there in what's been happening with the bringing in of talent to Oklahoma State football. So I would not be surprised at all if there's someone new in that role next year.
Yeah, and I would be just speculating. And again, when I had Bill Haston on, and he talked a lot about Kenyatta Wright, he wrote a really glowing article about his role within the football department and said he's one of the more impressive, important people on campus. I mean, Bill would have far more insight on it than I would. I'm just judging based on what I've seen on the field. And I would, and maybe this is a moot point because I think you're right. I think you get rid of the head coach who hired Kenyatta Wright, a former OSU player, played at Oklahoma State back in the 90s. I remember watching him play. You got to think there'll be upheaval across the board. So maybe it's a moot point, but I think it's important to note, again, when people are tuning into this show, how in the world is OSU the worst team in the country? I think that's a big part of it. And I think this is fair criticism of Mike Gundy. I think in hindsight now, looking back, I think that contract showdown in December, I think Mike just checked out after that. I think he was so pissed off that that happened and that he had to fight for every dollar for that buyout, which again was lessened to $15 million. Credit to Chad Weiberg for getting that thing down to 15. You're seeing just ridiculous buyouts all over the country, nationwide. And OSU doesn't even rank in the top 10. So that's credit to him. And I just think after that happened, Colby, just, again, speculation on my part, opinion, call it what you want. It seemed like Mike just kind of took a hands-off approach, like, I'll just coach this thing out, and if they get rid of me, I'll just collect my buyout and go down the road. Because for Clint Bowen to say the things he has said publicly, for the product we've seen on the field publicly, I don't think that's that far of a reach for me.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that we're saying things here that are fair. The head coach hired that guy. I don't think that the new head coach is going to want too much left over from what is the worst program in the country. Like, that's the reality. If you're taking over something, like any industry, you're going in, you're the new boss, and it's the absolute worst thing happening in that industry, you're probably not going to be just jumping out of your skis to keep a bunch of things the same, to keep a bunch of people in the same positions. So, I would be pretty surprised if we don't see some changes across the board from whoever Oklahoma State brings in to be its next head coach.
Yep, I would agree. Speaking of changes, LSU fires Brian Kelly. The coaching carousel is now spinning at full speed. You got Florida open, you got LSU open, Penn State. 3 of the bluest of blue bloods are open, which if you're still sitting out there, I still get this one guy tweeting me all the time, like, hey, at least they're having fun. You got rid of Mike, and now look at him. And it's like, if you wanted to keep Mike Gundy the whole year, one, I think that might have been better punishment for Mike than giving him a buyout to go away. Having to stand on the sideline with his arms crossed watching this product every week might have been a bigger punishment than firing him. But waiting till the end of the year, letting that situation get even more toxic, and falling in behind the line of all these blue bloods and other programs that have open positions at the end of the year, that would be a death knell for Oklahoma State. Like, clearly, for anyone out there, that was the right move to get rid of Mike when they did, because they've already interviewed candidates, I'm told. They've already got their list, and now it's just a matter of picking the right guy. I brought up Alex Golish last week. I think he is right in the mix. And I'm sure LSU, Arkansas, and Florida have probably called him too. So you're in the mix. Without it, you'd be hoping to get a phone call if you hadn't got rid of Mike Gundy at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. It would have been crazy to let Mike Gundy stand there all season and be on your back foot here. Unless you just think, unless you're thinking they're only hiring Zack Robinson, there are no other possibilities, nothing else is happening, it's only Zack. I mean, sure, you can let Mike Gundy stand there for another 2 months and take these losses, but you got out in front of it. You were one of the first jobs open. You've had your name out there. You've been talking to people. I think that that's good for Oklahoma State. I think it would have been a mistake to wait until all these other jobs open. And Carson, the reality is another job just jumped in front of Oklahoma State in the pecking order, and I have to redo my rankings. I don't know about you. I think LSU is undoubtedly the best job now available. Every coach who goes to LSU over the last 25 years, they all win a national title. Les goes down there, he wins a national title because they just get flooded with talent. Ed Orgeron, big old dumb goofball. He goes down there, he wins a national title with the best college football team of all time. And then Brian Kelly goes down there. He's the only one that wasn't able to get it done. I'm not a big Brian Kelly fan. Never have been. Don't love the way he talks to people. Think he's kind of a D-bag. So not shedding any tears for Brian Kelly and his $54 million buyout. But I don't know about you. Does LSU go to number one for you? Because it does for me.
Not only does it go to number one, I would rank LSU maybe behind Ohio State. I'd probably put Ohio State 1. I might put LSU 2 because there's no in-state competition. You get every kid from Louisiana. You've got Houston next door. You've got Georgia next door, along with all the Southeast. The proof's in the pudding. I mean, who would you rank above LSU? You could make an argument that they're number one. Them, Alabama are kind of interchangeable based on, who's winning at the moment. But Alabama's got to deal with Auburn. You don't got to deal with that at LSU. I would probably put Ohio State 1 and LSU 2. That's how highly I think of that job.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see, and time will tell how DeBoer ends up doing at Alabama, and how they end up doing in the NIL era, because Alabama's not some sort of NIL juggernaut. Like, they don't have the money that A&M has to throw around. LSU is a good job, man. It's absolutely tier one alongside the schools that we're talking about. Ohio State, LSU, Georgia. Trying to think. Texas is probably, I don't know. Texas has a lot of money. They're still right there with A&M in spending. Like they're in that tier of job, and that's a job, by the way, that could come open. I believe it was Diana Rossini who said that Sark is interested in going to the NFL, including that Tennessee job. I guess he thinks that he can make them win with Cam Ward, who I think is very talented, but obviously has a ways to go and needs a good head coach. So I don't know. The Texas job could come open. We could end up with Penn State, Texas, Florida, LSU, all open, and those schools are in a little bit different tier, fishing in a little bit different pond than where Oklahoma State's at. But again, that's why getting out there early, already having talked to people, already being in the ears of agents, like I do think that stuff matters. So I like the way that Oklahoma State has handled it, and you let the chips fall where they may. All these big jobs coming open. Look, would I have preferred it if the only jobs that were open at the end of the season were Oklahoma State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Arkansas? Yeah, I think that probably would have favored us a little bit more. But these jobs are coming open. It is what it is. Go compete. We tell everybody to go compete for recruits. Go compete for coaches. Go out and, let a coach know why Oklahoma State's the place for him. I will say I got tagged in Mike Golick Jr.'s program rankings that had Oklahoma State at like 9th behind UCLA, Virginia Tech, Arkansas, just everybody. And I'm like, oh my God, did you lose me at UCLA? UCLA is not better than any of these other jobs that are available. UCLA's, sure, it's better than UAB. I'll put it just a tick above UAB. UCLA, that job's been a joke forever. Nathan Gilslider responded to me on Twitter this morning, said that job hadn't been worth anything since Aikman left, and he's absolutely right. That job's a joke. Anybody putting them high up on a list, I can't take that list very seriously.
Yeah, Nicole Auerbach from NBC Sports put UCLA like 3 spots ahead of Oklahoma State, and she was like, I know this job hasn't been good historically, but now they're in the Big Ten. I don't care. That's a joke. UCLA is a terrible job. It's a terrible job. It's up there with Rutgers in the Big Ten, okay? Rutgers in the Big Ten. You going to rank that over Oklahoma State? No, anybody that ranks UCLA ahead of Oklahoma State's clueless.
It should come with the caveat, like they should have to put in parentheses, living in LA and being rich seems cool. Like that's all you need to say. If you're ranking UCLA in the top 5 of current job openings, you just have to say being rich and living in LA seems cool. And okay, if that's what you're grading it on, we'll leave it at that.
And her other reasoning for Virginia Tech was ahead of Oklahoma State. Her other reasoning was, well, they're in a conference where they could win. And she said that about OSU too, mind you. But she said they just announced the $229 million infusion. That'll give them a big advantage. They might be able to win the ACC. It's like they were dead last. They had no money whatsoever. That's the reason they had to announce this. They're so far behind. It's not as if they're starting from the same level at an Oklahoma State. No, they're way down here. OSU's all up here, and everyone else is up here. So just the reasonings on these, people just look for reasons to keep checking Oklahoma State down the list. They'll say, they haven't done anything besides Mike Gundy, which is technically true, but you got to look forward. You can't just look backward. But that's also why I would rank LSU ahead of a lot of other jobs too. Like to what you said, every coach has won a national title there, pretty much, other than Brian Kelly the last 25 years. I view Texas a lot like Florida. All the built-in inherited advantages, ton of in-state competition, hasn't quite won at the level they're supposed to for a long time now. I know Urban Meyer had it rolling there. He was cheating like a banshee as well. But I kind of put Florida and Texas where it should be top 3 to 4 job in the country, but it just hasn't for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It should, but it hasn't. Like, why hasn't Florida been able to win? Why has every coach who's gone down there in the last 15 years fell on their face? Sark had a year last year, and that's nice. You had a year. They had those couple of years with, what was the guy? Shot putter, Ellinger. They had a couple of years there with Ellinger. Yeah, where they were decent. Before that, it's the Colt McCoy years. Texas went like 10, 12 straight years getting dominated by Oklahoma State. And again, they have all the money. They have all the built-in advantages being in Texas. They've got Austin. Like, it should be a great job, and it is a great job. And I'm sure every great coach thinks I'll be the one to go to Texas and make it work. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. They pulled a rabbit out of the hat, beating Mississippi State this week. That was
no doubt.
Total fluke comeback there. But kind of wrapping up the coaching carousel talk too, I think this is one important aspect too of the Zack Robinson factor and Alex Golish, frankly. I made this sweet graphic, so I might just pull it up just cause. But when it comes to Alex Golish as well, I don't think a Florida or an LSU or a Penn State or I would probably include Arkansas. I don't think those jobs I just mentioned, I don't think they're going to hire Alex Golish. I don't think that would win the press conference. I think if you're one of those programs, you want to splash, you want a Lane Kiffin, you want, NFL coach X. I don't think Alex Golish is going to win the press conference. But I think that gives Oklahoma State an advantage, even though they're now in the mix with all these big schools. I just don't foresee a Florida hiring an Alex Golish or much less LSU.
I think Florida could maybe get away with it a little bit more because it's in conference. LSU, like you said, I don't think that wins the in-state, yeah, not in conference. Good correction. I don't think that wins the press conference in Baton Rouge. If the Texas job comes open, I don't think that wins the press conference in Texas. And you're right, that is something that they care about. So that's a good point. I'm still a big Golish guy. I still like the idea of Zach coming here and doing it. I don't care what the Falcons are doing. I'm not judging it based on that. They had themselves a bad day yesterday. No Michael Penix, no Drake London, no offense whatsoever for the Kirk Cousins-led Atlanta Falcons. Real quick, top of your head, how much money is Kirk Cousins making this year?
$35 million?
Almost. $45 million. He's making Micah Parsons money to have that kind of impact on the game.
You had to bring it up. I had Lamar Jackson out injured on the IR. I have Matthew Stafford as my backup on bye. I'm like, nobody's picked up Kirk Cousins. This is great. He gets to play against Miami. I'm going to kill it. And he did absolutely nothing. So thanks a lot, Kirk Cousins.
Big fat zero.
Oh, I had a point about Zach. And so I bring that up about Alex Golish. That's an aspect about him. That's also what's great about Zach is I don't want to call him like a fallback option by any means, but let's be honest. He's not coming to college football to coach anyone else besides Oklahoma State. So if you do lose out, let's say on an Alex Golish, let's say he goes to Arkansas, just for example, I do think it's great to kind of have Zach there in your back pocket, a guy who, for all intents and purposes, would want the job. Could do a great job and has a lot of built-in advantages that no other candidate has. It's kind of a unique situation for Chad Weiberg, isn't it? Just kind of having Zach as an option when no other school in the country really does.
Yeah, it kind of feels like I don't want to call it a backup plan because for all I know, it could very much be plan A. But it feels like this thing that's just yours. Like I don't think Penn State is like, hey, the Falcons offensive coordinator, we got to talk to that guy. I don't think LSU's making that call. So everybody else in the college coaching circles, you're absolutely competing for. I think with Zach, it's just a question of, do we think this can be the guy to lead the program? Does all the timing and everything work so that we don't have another lost season next year because we can't get a head coach down here before the portal opens? There are questions that have to be answered about whether Zach is the guy. But if the administration makes the determination that he is, it's nice to know that you can make that call. And if he wants to be here, you don't have to worry about whether he wants to be in Baton Rouge more. If Texas comes open, you don't have to worry about whether he wants to be in Austin more. So, that's a good point. Zach is just kind of like he's just this candidate that's just ours. If we decide we like him, then he's ours if he wants to be here. So, that's kind of a nice little note there on Zach.
Have you seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? I know the answer. I'm going to ask anyway.
Nope.
Man, you're so uncultured when it comes to films. One of my favorite movies growing up, but for people that have seen that movie, Zach's like the Ferrari that's been sitting in the garage that Cameron doesn't want to take out, but Ferris does. I think Cameron in this situation might be Chad Weiberg, and I don't know who Ferris would be in this scenario. Maybe that'd be Chad Clay, the mega donor. He'd be like, let's take it for a spin. Let's go. Let's get the Ferrari out. He's kind of just waiting in the garage with the canvas over him, just waiting to be driven. So a lot to be determined. Again, I think just to wrap it up, Colby, I think Alex Golish is right there with Zach. I think it's kind of a coin flip at this point. I know there's been talks amongst both sides, and I think both like each other a whole lot. So I think that's made Chad Weiberg, this is just me speculating, I'm not reporting this, but I think it's made him truly evaluate both options, see which one's best. And there might be more out there. Those are just the two names I keep hearing.
Carson, we might know. I just looked at the calendar because I'm like, this is kind of sneaking up on me a little bit. 5 weeks from today, we might know. We might have our answer as to who's being hired as the head coach at Oklahoma State. Maybe not. Maybe there's conference championship games. Maybe it's 6 weeks. Maybe there's the remainder of an NFL season. Maybe it's 14 weeks or whatever that would be. But yeah, we could be getting close.
Well, Zach's getting a ton of heat right now. Like you mentioned, there another poor performance. I think Dan Orlovsky and Kurt Warner were ripping Atlanta's offense on Twitter. I mean, if the Atlanta fires Zack Robinson, that makes it really easy to just slot him in as soon as that happens. Are you concerned at all about the national perception about that, though? Like if Zach gets fired, you're not worried at all?
No, because national perception of the hire will have no – I mean, it dictates nothing about whether Zach will be successful or not be successful at Oklahoma State. If Zach is or is not successful, it's because he's a good head coach at this level. It's because he fully wraps his mind around everything happening in college football. He puts a good roster together. He puts a good staff together, whether that includes Jim Knowles or not. We don't know. We also don't know if Zach would call his own offense or if he would bring someone else in. We could even see a situation. We saw Ryan Grubbs go from being the offensive coordinator at Washington to the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. I'm sure Zach knows plenty of people in the NFL, maybe a passing game coordinator somewhere, somebody that we don't know about, that maybe he's like, look, I need to run the program. You come in, you call the plays, you run the offense. We don't know how all of that would work. But no, national perception doesn't faze me. If national perception in 5 years is, wow, that was a terrible hire. That was a terrible hire. They totally blew that. They're still a laughingstock. Yeah, we got a problem then because that's based on results. Perception, that doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, that's fair. I doubt the Mike Gundy hire back in 2005 was perceived great nationally. I mean, I know he was the OC for Les Miles, so it made more sense than a fired NFL coordinator. But yeah, national perception about OSU is never great anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, especially right now.
Yeah, especially right now. There's been a lot of talk on the chamber about Curtis Looper potentially joining the staff with Zach. He was the running backs coach at Oklahoma State on Mike's first staff, 2005 to 2008. Then he went to Auburn and then TCU for a long stretch. Now he's at Missouri as the running backs coach there at Missouri. So it would be like you bring him in to be the quote-unquote OC and Zach calls the plays would be kind of the setup that you see with like our Sarkisian who calls the plays. Lane Kiffin as well, although I think Charlie Weiss Jr. is probably calling more plays now for Ole Miss, but you get the point. I think Curtis Looper's a name that's been thrown around amongst the chamber. And again, sign up for Pistols Firing Plus, PFB Plus, join the chamber, get involved. A lot of coaching search talk in there, so that's kind of the latest. But that's not going to wow people, Colby, because I think that would spell that Zach's calling the plays.
Yeah, and that's fine. If people aren't wowed, we'll see what the results are, and they will speak for themselves as we move forward. Carson, got to get going soon, but I do want to shout out Steve Lutz, man. He got another one. 4-star guard Parker Robert 3-2-1. 4-star guard Parker Robinson. My brain kept wanting to say Parker Robertson.
Not the safety.
Not the safety, no. And that's my brain kept wanting to go Robertson as I was reading Robinson. 4-star guard Parker Robinson has committed to Oklahoma State. 6'5", 200 pounds, good 3-point shooter. And this brings Oklahoma State's class, Carson, up to number 4 in the country. This is just, I mean, Steve Lutz, take a bow, my man. This is really impressive. Oklahoma State, according to 247 Sports national rankings, trails only Kansas, Missouri, and Ohio State in 2026 recruiting rankings. They lost the exhibition to SMU on Saturday by 15. Anthony Roy did not play, not reading a ton into that. The recruiting class, Carson, big time. Big time from Lutz.
I mean, Steve Lutz is killing it, plain and simple. Now it's incumbent upon him to win games this year, make the tournament, all the things we all know about. But I don't want to hear you can't recruit Stillwater, folks. Done. Don't want to hear it. Doesn't make any sense. It's not truthful. Steve Lutz already killing it in year 2 recruiting. So whoever the new football coach is, I expect to do the same, and that's the number one job right there with raising NIL dollars is recruiting, and Steve Lutz is getting it done. I cannot wait to watch that team play this year. He's really reloaded in year 2. My dad even was talking. I called my dad this weekend. He was just raving about how well Lutz has done with recruiting so far. So that's certainly something to get excited about. Mike Boynton recruited really well, didn't get the results. We'll see if Steve Lutz can get the results as well as recruiting, Colby. So We'll get back later this week, preview the Kansas game. Maybe a little bit more coaching carousel talk. Maybe someone else will get fired. We'll see. We'll talk to you then.
We'll see. Absolutely. Yeah. Oklahoma State basketball, first game week from tomorrow. So regular season is on its way. And the Thunder, Carson, in Dallas tonight. Let's get some Fire Nico chants going. I want some loud Fire Nico chants in Dallas tonight.
Love
so, again, great to see you this weekend. Appreciate everyone for joining us, for listening. We'll be back later in the week. As always, go Pokes.
We are back.
You expect to not get your teeth kicked in on your home field.
This is not the 1980s OSU.